Well, hello there, folks. I hope you find this Tuesday afternoon. It's afternoon here now. It's probably going to be tea time till you get to see this. In today's showbiz news, not a lot happening, so we'll start with somebody that's very much out of tune at the moment, literally speaking. We'll go with somebody that's something of a sore loser, and then we'll end with the superstar. We'll start with the boy first. That is Boy George. Have you seen it online today? There's a couple of clippings of his latest concert. It's showing 3 or 4 different bits of 3 or 4 different songs that he sung in concert. Have you seen them? Horrendous. Absolutely terrible, man. I believe the production of the whole thing's pretty good, but the singing, he's way off beam. I mean, I did hear him about 3 years ago on BBC. I think he was opening some ceremony or something on the One Show, and he was awful. Absolutely awful. Seen him somewhere about a year ago and expected the same, and surprisingly he wasn't that bad at all. He wasn't half as bad as I expected. But on the clips that I've seen online, oh my god, it's not that he's got a sore throat. The throat's fine. You can hear him, no problem at all. There's no issue there. He's just hugely out of tune, and when I say hugely, I mean unbelievably out of tune. It's awful. Absolutely awful. Doesn't matter what kind of fan you are of the boy, you're not going to like it. You're not going to be able to stick up for him, although no doubt many fans will do. I would suggest you get on a plane and go over to Tenerife and go and watch old Keith George there. He sounds better as Boy George than Boy George does nowadays. Really, really poor. And then we've got, is it Ola Jordan? That's the wife of James. I think they got bulleted from Strictly 3 or 4 years ago now. I don't think James's mouth helped. I think he was constantly having a dig at influential people there, ruffling a lot of feathers, and in the end they decided to get rid. I don't think he's the nicest person in the world, but that's just my opinion. I may be wrong. I noticed today Ola, as I said, that's his wife, has come out and said, Craig Revel-Allwood, he's lost his sparkle, they should bullet him, they should get rid. I thought that's sour grapes, because that's who James was falling out with more than anybody else. I think James doesn't like him, and rather than it look like it is sour grapes, he said to Ola, go on, this is what I want you to say, but you say it. It can't come from me. I might be wrong, but that's the way I saw it anyway. Then lastly, we mentioned superstars. Well, he was an absolute superstar. I think of him this time of year, because he died on Christmas Day. I remember hearing of it about 10:30, Christmas night at the brother-in-law's for our regular Christmas get-together. That's George Michael. You may have seen the programme that was on Saturday on BBC Two. They did a revisiting of the resort where they filmed Last Christmas. It was pretty enjoyable. I quite enjoyed it. They showed an old film that was taken at the time when they recorded Last Christmas 40 years ago, and obviously new footage as well, and it was pretty good. Everybody had great things to say about George, nothing bad at all. I don't think anybody ever had anything to say about him. I think he was just a nice fellow, which is what I'm going to get to in a moment if you've not watched it. I'm not giving spoilers, I'm only telling you one little thing that I wasn't aware of. But it was a good old show. I thought it was grand. And I hear that Last Christmas, the one just gone, it's not a pun that, I believe he finally got to number 1 in 2023. That was his aim in whatever year it would have been. Would it have been 84? I think it was 84 it came out. When he put it out then, he wanted it to get to number 1. And you've probably heard about it on the news over the last week or so. He gets on his way home, and on his way home he takes a call from Bob Geldof. They want him to come and help him with Do They Know It's Christmas, the charity single for Live Aid. And he thought, oh my God, I can't say no to it, but I can see with all the stars on that, I'm not going to get to number 1 here, and that was the case. Last Christmas number 2, the Live Aid single number 1. George was on them both. But in a turn that I never knew about, it turns out that George at the time said, listen, Bob, anything coming from our Christmas single can go to the Fighting Fund as well. You know, you need it more than I do. Just add it up there. And I wasn't aware of that. Maybe I did it at the time if I'd forgotten. But it was a surprise to me when I heard it on Saturday. I thought, well, that just says it all about the fella. We've heard loads and loads of stories about his generosity since he's died. It was one of those things that did great things for people, but was adamant nobody was to tell. He didn't want anybody to know what he was doing. Unlike some folk that love giving to charity and love us all hearing about it, George was totally the opposite there. Did loads and loads of things, probably more than we're ever going to find out, because he never ever wanted a soul to know. He was a decent human being. Well, a good human being, a great human being. sadly left us. But we've still got his music, and what a voice he was. What a voice he was. Fantastic. So that's it, folks. Who did we do there? Yeah, we did the three of them, didn't we? Boy George, Ola Jordan with the Dig At, Craig Revel Harwood, and then George Michael. Ending on a nice note there. I like George. I really did.